This is a really stupid question I keep getting because the answer is obviously it depends. But don't worry because this channel only has quality content, so I ran an experiment where I took 14 beginners, put them in my programming class and saw how they progressed. I documented their entire journey, so let's see how the average person feels like when they learn programming for the first time. You know, the fun way, not the cringe way. But Gen Z is already clicking off the video, you gotta convince them that it's gonna be a good video. Oh. Okay, my bad, don't copyright me. Now I had to find some people. I found them on many different places, but I made sure of one thing. They would have enough free time and dedication and they would really commit to this challenge. I don't need them to grind 8 hours a day, but I do need them to put in a little bit of effort every single day, kinda like what I talked about in this video. And if they can't, then don't apply. I had a short interview, over 100 applications, and pretty much all of them sounded like this. Please, Crin, this is exactly what I need to turn my life around. I promise I'll commit. I dropped out of uni. My mom is kinda homeless. So I found 14 candidates and the Hunger Games began. For their first task, all they had to do was install Python, VS Code, learn the basics of data types, and the bare minimum of arrays. So you can imagine my surprise when they finally hit the deadline and only 10 out of the 14 people even got started. You know, the same people that were like begging to get in. The challenge itself should have taken like half an hour at most. So they tried Python for the first time and submitted their assignments. Most of it was fine, but one thing that I have seen over and over again is that beginners get confused about how to use input. They either think that input takes the value of whatever you type inside of input rather than what the user types in the terminal, or they don't really understand how to store it, use it later, or use it in print functions. Sometimes you even see something like this. Afterwards, they had to pick a random element from an array and make a small project out of it. They made all sorts of different stuff, their implementation was pretty bad and some of them got quite creative. This guy made a script that would randomly select a league champion based on the role that you picked, and then later added an ultimate bravery style item set randomizer. Although some of them didn't even really understand how to use the things that they just learned. Then I hosted a really easy challenge that was supposed to recreate this meme but in code. It was interesting to see all of their different approaches, but a lot of them just overcomplicated the code for no reason. The solution was very simple. For the next task, I got everybody in call and I tried to teach them myself. I taught them functions, when they're used, what they're used for, and gave them some practical examples. Something like a 2D game that you want to automate, like mining in RuneScape. You would have to click on the rocks and the inventory, but the rocks are a lot bigger. And since you have to randomize both of the clicks, you would need to set some sort of range of how much it can actually randomize, so that it doesn't click off the object. For the rock, that range is going to be way bigger, because it's a bigger part of the screen. But for the inventory, it has to be a lot more precise. So what you could do is just add a third argument for the offset. And also it looks a lot cleaner than just copy-pasting the raw code over and over again. I thought that might be a bit more interesting than generic tutorials. I tried to teach them a few things this way, but then I realized that I'm just saying the same things that the tutorials are saying, and teaching somebody programming doesn't really make sense. Because it's pretty much a science. I can try to make it more interesting, but 95% of the stuff that I'm going to be saying is pretty much the same thing that every other tutorial says. So I'm just wasting like 2 hours not adding anything of value. So after this, I made them study by themselves and I just gave them a general structure. I would give them new, fun, interesting projects like working with Discord or game automation or those sorts of things, because most of them wanted to do gaming related projects like the things that I do. So I told them what they should learn, they learned it by themselves, and then at the end they made some fun projects with it. And now it was time for their final task, finishing up Python syntax. So I designed it like a big spooky boss fight. I made them create a turn-based RPG game. They could either make something more complex like this and even add item passives and inventories and shop, or they could just have some very basic combat system and loot dropping. Some of them failed completely, like this guy that didn't understand the assignment and didn't even add a combat system, and then made an entire file for one single class that he imported and then never used. And then somebody else made an entire file for an imported clearing function, and then imported that function from the file. And some of them, even though they had pretty bad code formatting, made a game that actually runs and is fully playable. And with that, we finally finished the syntax part. Now they could just find some module, read the docs for it, and they would pretty much be able to make any project. And this is actually the fun part in programming, being able to make cool, fun stuff that you actually enjoy. Like this guy, he was very happy that he could make an app that he will actually use himself. And I'm gonna tell you all about that, but there's one small problem. Only one person got to this point. Out of 14 people, we lost 4 right off the bat because they didn't even start the first task. And then 3 more of them gave up in the first week. Only 4 of them submitted the final project, and out of those, only 2 did it properly and met the basic requirements. And out of 2 of those, only 1 of them continued programming and didn't stop after the challenge. So why did he continue?
When we worked with Minecraft Discord, I really loved doing those things. I just felt like there was so much more to explore, so I just want to try more stuff.
So basically he enjoyed it. The others told me that they liked a few projects but didn't like all of them, and generally they enjoyed the Discord project the most. I made them get some sort of API data, run it through Discord, and send it to the user. This guy made something that shows you anime reviews, a bunch of people did movies, and this guy did something that shows you the weather. I guess they liked it because it was more than just text on a terminal and they felt more engaged. Now I want to do a 1v1 with them so I can see just how good they got and how they would approach projects compared to me. Before that, I should probably answer that stupid ass question, but let me rephrase it a bit. How long would it take a non-superficial person to learn programming to a decent extent that allows them to do pretty much any project that they want in a given area? And the answer is around 2 to 3 weeks. And keep in mind, our group had a combination of unemployment final bosses and also people that had responsibilities and didn't have that much time. Because of that, I made the deadlines very long and flexible, but you could easily do all of this in a week. And they were probably thinking, well, that's not that long, so surely these people aren't that good. So let's make the same projects and see how long it takes me and how we do them differently. The challenges are going to be basic. I'm not going to make them remake an amazing looking site like this. Okay, but seriously, this is like the coolest looking sponsor site I've ever seen. If you're monetizing an online product, you might not want to overlook PostHog. It's an all-in-one developer platform built to help teams understand how people actually use their product and ship improvements faster. Instead of juggling different tools, PostHog combines product analytics, web analytics, session replay, error tracking, feature flags, experiments, surveys, and even LLM analytics in one place. It lets you track user behavior, analyze funnels and retention, watch real session replays to debug issues, and safely roll out new features using flags and A/B testing. There's also a built-in customer data platform that can send your data to 50 plus other tools, plus a data warehouse that connects your sources like Database, Stripe, or HubSpot so you can query everything together. If you want a better product, understand your customers, and ship a more successful product easier, you should probably check out PostHog because they have a very generous free tier for all of their products. Unlike other products, it's not very limiting and 90% of their users use it for free. I'd say that this is easily one of the least corporate cringe companies I've ever seen. And a lot of their stuff is open source too. Let them know Crin sent you by using this link. I thought of something very practical yet very basic, and also bitmap parser. You just extract data from a text file. Simple, but useful. Step 1. Import the text data. So to make everything look cleaner, I'm just gonna make a separate file and then import it. Let's see if it works. Yeah, good.
I'm just gonna copy. Equals. Then paste it.
Then we need to get all the hit objects and separate by lines. Now I'm gonna take what comes after hit objects. Good. So as I'm editing this, I realized that they didn't listen to my instructions and they didn't paste the whole map in. They only pasted the hit objects. So basically they skipped a step. My disappointment is immeasurable. Now we need to separate the lines. Now I want to print every object. Let me split it into lines first. And there it is.
So I'm slicing first slice by the line and then the line itself again by the comma. Holy shit. Think split and I'm gonna just loop.
Now we need to only take the first 3 values from every line, the X, the Y, and the delay. So I'm just gonna split it by commas. That's every value. I only need the first 3 values. There it is. Multi-assign them. That should be everything. Oh, I pasted in the map wrong. There we go.
Nah. List out of index. For God's sake. That's fine. Yay. Fixed.
And then the other guy did this. That is quite suspicious. I'm not sure if he researched it before he started recording, if he cheated, or if he's just like really good at basics, but I would definitely not expect a beginner to write it out like this, especially first try without even really thinking. But who knows, maybe he just learned well. Now we need to turn also coordinates to screen coordinates, and I gave everybody the formula. This one's basic, I just need to pass them through the formula. That's better.
Now I need to calculate the transform value. Yo, what? Okay. Yay. Quotes.
Take those values for every object, put them in a tuple, and then add them to an array. Make the array, and then just add the chords and the delay. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to put it in a tuple. And I'm done.
Second value. And now, yeah, it's like, it's done.
Now this works, and this is his final time, but he also chose to rewrite the code.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting the result that he should have been getting because he used the wrong base and he started combining tuples and stuff. Then he eventually gave up and started googling. Here the project worked for the first time and that's gonna be his final time in code, and then he decided to rewrite the entire script to make it look better. So here are the final times. Mine is 250 if we include the extra step I did, otherwise it's 226, and they got 20 minutes 57 and 1831. When it comes to speed, using me as a baseline, Barley would get 1.5 and Max would get 1.3. So we've established that I am speed. But it's not just about how fast you do it, let's see how well we did it. So for this I'm gonna bring in a disinterested third party, the guy that I used for the aim training clip in the Skyblock video, aka a developer that works full-time at a top 50 tech company, whenever he's not speedrunning Minecraft at work, cause he's just swag like that. Before we start, I should probably mention this. You can't really compare it that well for really basic scripts, you would usually do it for more advanced projects, but a more advanced project would take them days or weeks, and I have to release this video in 2 days. I will show off their best projects at the end of the video so we can see how good they got, but it's not gonna be a timed challenge like this.
This piece of code is pretty clean. I can definitely tell what it does. It uses slices, which is nice. I can't say I can improve it much, so I definitely give it a 9 on both readability and improvement possibilities. For your piece of code, I definitely give it an 8 for readability. It's just tiny bit uglier, but it's also pretty reasonable in my opinion. Like, I'd be happy with this code. There's not much to improve. You also get a 9 in improvement. You could do it cleaner. I hate looking at this piece of code. I don't know why this looks like this. I do not like how it looks. So I definitely give this like a maybe 4. Nah, let's keep it a 3 for readability, because I look at it and I have no idea what this does. It misspells Osu as OSSU. Room for improvement? A lot. This gets a 5.
Out of curiosity, I asked ChatGPT and it agreed. You know, fair enough, except I forgot to mention 2 important details. First of all, they only pasted the hit objects instead of parsing the whole map and getting the hit objects through the script. And secondly, they pasted the entire map file as plain text in the main script file. So it had thousands of lines, instead of just putting it in another file and then importing it the way I did. After I told ChatGPT this, it drastically changed its ratings. And if we also account for speed, then these would be the final ratings. Now let's take a look at something much more useful that also uses libraries and that I wanted to make myself regardless of this video. In Valorant, people keep making noise before and after the round, and it's very annoying, especially with all the sound effects after you die. So because of that, a lot of players immediately mute the game. This is a bit annoying to do every single time. Why not just press a hotkey and mute the entire process, and then unmute it by pressing the same hotkey later? So that's gonna be the task. I swear Valorant players are not normal. So on this one, let's do an analysis rather than a competition. Naturally, I'm gonna ask the expert first. That has to be wrong, it's way too complicated. So here I asked ChatGPT what module I should use because it's gonna save me time. ChatGPT does have a tendency to overcomplicate really basic stuff, so I completely disregarded the code and I just looked up the docs. No, that's not what I need. This one's better. Oh, there it is. Yoink. Okay, let's see. Get rid of the useless stuff, get keyboard in here. So it's targeting Chrome. I want to see what set mute does. So this part is completely irrelevant to me. There's a bunch of modules that have to initialize themselves, like a Discord bot or Selenium or something. And you don't really need to understand how it works because you're never gonna edit it. You're just gonna paste it in the same way every time. So in this case, I don't care about any of that. So I care about this part because it has to do with processes and muting, especially this one. No, I don't have the module. Okay, so nothing happens. I'm guessing it's demuting it. In programming, usually 0 means false or off and 1 means true or on. So in this case, I'm suspecting that 0 unmutes something and 1 mutes something, but I'll have to test it. Let me try 1. Okay, 1 mutes it. 0. 0 unmutes it, okay. So now I just need a basic hotkey system with a switch. I'm typing like a spastic. Here I made a muted variable that would switch itself when I press a hotkey by using keyboard.wait, which basically stalls my code inside of the while loop. And done. The last thing I did was check for my variable and then mute or unmute accordingly. Actually, you know what? I'll just make this a separate video. Why am I overworking myself when not even 20% of people get to this point? I'd get like double the money for the same work as well. Long story short, Barley did it in 1 hour and Max did it in half an hour, but his didn't work because he couldn't even test it because he's on Mac and this only works on Windows. If you want to see me comparing different levels of developers and hearing how they think when they do stuff, share this video with your friends, get it to like 150k views in the first month and you'll get it. And I think that if some of my students kept programming for a month or two, they can do quite a bit of my projects, maybe not all of them, but it wouldn't really be a matter of capacity if they can do it or not. It's mostly a question of how long is it gonna take and how many mental breakdowns. So long story short, for simple projects, they can pretty much do it the same way as me, it just takes 10 times longer. When it comes to more complex projects, however, working on a really complicated project usually takes a week or more in which you're constantly losing your mind every single day over stuff not working. It's pretty much just a battle of willpower. We kinda got used to it, but for beginners feeling it for the first time, it might just be enough to make them quit. In fact, I didn't do the challenge with my top student because he was too burnt out to continue. He tried to do a dragon one-shot script with Mindscript, which was a pretty limited library, and he was on the wrong version of Minecraft. He tried to make it work for about 2 days, and no matter what, it just wasn't working. He got so sick of it that he hasn't even programmed since. Programming is just like any other grind, and I'd say it's very comparable to drawing. The hardest and most important part is consistency. It requires a certain amount of creativity, and if you work on the stuff that you don't like, you're gonna burn out. But if you work on the stuff that you do like, you're gonna progress pretty fast. Oh, well, I bet I would learn really fast with Crin as my teacher. Crin, please take me into your classes. No, you wouldn't. It makes no difference. They did all the studying by themselves. I didn't even teach them anything. I just gave them a few tasks, and if you want to see those, I'll just make the Discord public. The quickest way to burn out is by programming stuff you don't like. So let's check out the projects that they did like. This is what they made 2 weeks in. 2 projects stand out to me. A Pokemon tool that works for all the Pokemon games, but was mostly made for a Minecraft mod, where it's kinda hard to find their types and their counters. Normally you'd have to look up the Pokemon, and then the type, and then the type counter chart, and all of that stuff, and it's a bit annoying. This tool has all of that data imported, which it then deciphers, it runs a REST API, and then all you have to do is put the Pokemon name as an argument, and you get all the stuff you need. And it's so much faster and more convenient. The second one was a really cool Discord bot that would pick a random anime song for you to guess, but you could use it for pretty much any song. You could also message the bot directly to have your friend guess the song that you picked. It would pick a random 15-second section of the song and you would have to guess it. You could even do something like Crin guesser out of it and put my videos in there. Unfortunately, right as I was supposed to record it, Discord changed a bunch of stuff and then it kept breaking on Discord's end because discord.py wasn't updated. Another really cool project is this file organizer that takes a bunch of different file types and puts them in their own folder. You just run it and it sorts everything. So basically you can get pretty good at programming quite fast. I mean, they're making these projects after doing it for about 2 weeks. The audio challenge that I did was not actually meant for those 2 people that I did it with. Originally there were 3 of us and we did it live. We had my best student, the pro dev, and me. And I wanted all of us to compete. But that was a bit of a disaster. For the first challenge, the pro dev literally copy-pasted the entire code and literally vibe coded it. So, not sure what to do with that. And then my student was struggling really bad half an hour in, even after I gave him the module, so we had to step in and help him. But that kind of ruined the challenge because we just kind of told him what to do and how to fix the code. For the second challenge, we made it very clear that he shouldn't vibe code and we wanted to make a SoundCloud downloader. And this time I accidentally vibe coded everything. So for the third challenge, we had a very basic task. Just build a dirt hut around the player in Minecraft as fast as possible. We would be using Mindscript. So everybody got to work. I made some very logical code that was well formatted. It would run on any PC and server because it's locked to ticks. And you can imagine my surprise when they said that theirs was 3 times faster than mine. So they used magic numbers. That is clearly not the way you're supposed to do it properly, but I guess they were just trying to speedrun it and they didn't care about the code. But then I got all mad, so I decided to use the same method and do it better. I should have just left it as it was. After that, I decided to make my code improve itself as it runs. I would make my player place 4 blocks as fast as it could. At the end, it would check how many there are. If it put all 4 down successfully, it would teleport my player 20 blocks away, rerun the script, except the magical number sleep timing would be a little bit lower. That way I could rerun the script hundreds of times and find the best balance of speed and consistency. I basically automated what they did manually. It turns out the fastest you can run your script is 0.55. I got my script working at almost 100% consistency at 0.58 seconds, which is pretty good. I rewrote the script many times, reran it hundreds of times to check for consistency with the automated module. And the not so fun part is that this entire thing took all of us 3 hours. What a catastrophe. Hyper-optimizing some sleep timings for the most useless thing ever. I told you earlier that he didn't want to do the challenges because he was burnt out from the dragon. That was partially true, but he mostly didn't want to come because I traumatized him with this experiment. And there were also countless instances of people trying to do something and then failing and giving up on a project or spending hours on doing something basic. Why do I always do this though? Like, I just made an 18-minute video and a whole ass experiment when I could have just made some slop video in 1 hour and it would have had the same amount of views. This shit took like 2 weeks to make for no reason. In conclusion, watch my Skyblock video so I don't go broke and check out the second channel. Also, programming is not that hard. And it's pretty cool that you got here. You're part of like the 10% that made it this far, if even that. Also, I think I'm gonna start streaming on like Kick or something rather than the second channel, because apparently live streams really affect your YouTube performance. So I don't really want to nerf the performance on all my videos. Anyway, see ya!